The Alabama Farmers Federation and the Alabama Farmers Cooperative proudly present Simply Southern with Mary Wilson.
Howdy everybody, I'm Mary Wilson. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Simply Southern as we continue combing through the show archives to bring you a medley of stories we've covered over the years. The best stories are about people, and today we're taking a look back at a few of our fellow Alabamians who have found particularly interesting ways to make a living. Coming up a little later, we'll meet an ag teacher who farms in his off time and preaches at his church on Sundays. Imagine splitting time as a surgical nurse and traveling all over the country as a rodeo clown. We'll see how Trent McFarland pulls it off. Although you won't find him cracking wise at the rodeo, Cowboy Bruce Brannon dazzles crowds across Alabama with a Wild West show that would make Buffalo Bill proud. But we'll begin today's show with a visit to a Lowndes County veterinarian, whose patients range from household pets to slightly larger subjects.
What sustains us? Food? Family? Faith. Alabama farmers live those things every day. They conserve our resources, clothe our families, and fill our tables. They cultivate jobs for our communities and values for our future. Farmers grow it all right here in Alabama.
There's no such thing as downtime when you own a farm. This is your land. You tend it and try to get the most from it, no matter the weather or time of day. It's been that way for generations. And for generations, your local quality co-op store has been there for you, with a full range of agriculture supplies and services, from feed to fertilizer, seed to grain storage, and the right hardware for any application. You'll always find what you need, plus friendly, knowledgeable advice at your local quality co-op store. There's one near you.
When your cat or Cocker Spaniel needs to update their shots, you pack them up and head to your local veterinarian. Well, have you ever strolled through your local zoo and wondered, how do you pack up a pachyderm? It turns out even the biggest of beasties needs a checkup once in a while. And that's when the zoo calls on a guy like Hal Pate. Back in season 3, we had a chance to tag along with him as he made some pretty wild house calls.
Examining elephant ears, checking up on a baby lemur and its family, and feeding giraffes. That's just a regular Tuesday morning for Hal Pate. He's been the main veterinarian at the Montgomery Zoo since 1989, back when the zoo had less than 100 animals on just 6 acres. Now, the zoo has over 450 animals spread across 26 acres.
In '92, they decided to expand the zoo and introduce rhinos and elephants, and so we all grew together.
While many zoogoers probably don't think about the need for consistent animal care as they take in the sights of flamingos, hippos, and tigers, Pate spends every Tuesday and Thursday morning there at the zoo. He starts the day meeting with zookeepers to discuss how different animals are doing and which ones may need medical care.
The keepers are really the ones that are with the animals day in and day out. So they watch the animals, they know their feeding habits, they know the way they move, their habits. So they're the ones, usually the first ones to recognize if there's a problem.
Pate's patients range from those he can hold in his hand, like this baby duiker, which is a smaller relative to the antelope, to those tipping the scales at more than 6,000 pounds, like these African elephants. Every week, Pate examines the elephant's feet because that's the #1 place ailments can start in the pachyderms. Pate also runs a local mixed animal vet clinic in his native Lowndes County. He said there's actually a lot of similarities between his domesticated patients and the exotic zoo animals.
As you go around the zoo, you see all the exotic hoof stock that we have. Well, they're ruminants just like cows that veterinarians practice on every day. Our rhinoceros, is a digestive system is almost exactly the same as a horse. Our cats, our big cats, are very similar to our domestic cats that we see every day in practice. You know, when you get down to it, it's only a handful of animals that really don't fit into some category, such as your elephants, such as your kangaroos.
Pate has seen his share of medical emergencies and scientific breakthroughs with the zoo animals, including a giraffe with a torn ligament in its leg. He worked with a human prosthesis company to develop a brace, which saved the giraffe's life.
It's really the only second time that I've really known it's ever been done in a giraffe before. So then this giraffe's had it on there for 4 or 5 years and just doing great.
Along with his vet clinic and his zoo work, Pate raises purebred Charolais cattle. His father was one of the first to bring the breed to Alabama.
He started in the 60s and brought in Charolais cattle, and so my brother and I still continue that herd, and so we still enjoy really still raising cattle on our farm.
In another similarity to farming, Pate said it's a consistent learning process to work with wild animals. But he knows there are others, even around the world, that he can rely on for help.
The animals and the things you encounter are so much different than what you normally experience in an everyday veterinary practice. So you're just faced with new challenges every day. And in fact, we had a problem with a baby elephant one time, and so we actually called a zoo in Africa to sort of see if we could work, figure out what we should do. I heard a quote one time, and I remind myself of it every time I show up, is that you should envy me because I work at the zoo. It is like that. It's you should envy me because I get to work at the zoo.
I remember when we shot this story, Dr. Pate told us a story about working with a local dentist to help a bear with a toothache. Now, that's a little too interesting a workday for me. And it turns out Hal isn't the only one in the family with a compelling career. In 2018, his brother Rick was elected as Alabama's Commissioner of Agriculture. I imagine that makes for some interesting table conversation when the Pate family gets together. Now, the only time I'd expect scalpels and clown makeup to come together would be in a horror movie. But Trent McFarland makes his living using both. We'll bring you our story on this super busy fella when Simply Southern returns.
Wear long pants, long sleeve shirts, and closed-toed shoes. Don't be ticked. Use repellents with 20% DEET on skin and 0.5% permethrin on gear and clothing. Don't be ticked. Avoid sitting on rotten logs or stumps. Don't be ticked. Protect yourself from serious tick-borne illnesses and seek timely treatment to prevent long-term problems. No hunters were angered in the making of this film.
Support healthy food from local farmers by purchasing a Farming Feeds Alabama license plate. The tag funds education and promotion efforts, including Ag in the Classroom, agricultural scholarships, and youth programs. Get your Ag tag today.
Soybean is a very versatile product. We make crayons out of it.
A lot of the combines you see rolling through the fields have a lot of plastic side panels that are made from a soy product.
The soybeans that we grow on our farm mostly goes into chicken feed.
Soybean production in Alabama employs over 10,000 people.
We grow some of the best soybeans in the world.
We go the extra mile to make sure when our name is stamped on it, we know it's the best product we can produce.
Some of the best things in life start with a bundle. And some of them can actually save you money. Like when you bundle your auto and life insurance with Alpha. Protect what's important to you at a price you can afford.
All for a better life.
Alpha Insurance.
All for a better life.
Ask your local agent about Alpha's auto life discount.
Bull riders, steer wrestlers, and cowboys on buckin broncos get the top billing at the rodeo. But no rodeo is complete without the madcap antics of a rodeo clown. They keep us laughing while the riders get set and animals are moved into place. While there's nothing medical about keeping a rodeo crowd in stitches, the rodeo clown we featured back in Season 3 is no stranger to an operating table.
Getting ready to go to work can get pretty involved for Trent McFarland, but his career path is a little bit outside the typical 9 to 5.
Sultry. Well, I was looking for a job where a man can make a good living wearing makeup, and there's only a few options. No, I'm joking.
Joking is something Trent knows a lot about. For more than 20 years, he's been bringing smiles and laughter to arenas across the Southeast as a professional rodeo clown.
Growing up, all the teachers in school would say, look, acting like a clown will get you nowhere in life. And last year, I was 40,000+ miles driving all over the country acting like a clown. So I guess I kind of proved them wrong a little.
Trent began performing for rodeo audiences as a child, following in the footsteps of his father, who had been a rodeo clown himself for many years.
The first rodeo I did was Selma, Alabama. And so I was 13, that was really cool. I'll never forget the feeling of what it was like to step out in front of the crowd. And of course I was scared, and I told Dad, I said, what if a bull comes at me? He said, oh son, the worst they can do is kill you. They can't eat you. I think that's supposed to make me feel better. But needless to say, I knew I was hooked on it.
It shouldn't be surprising that Trent fell in love with the rodeo girl. And now the proud parents of 2 young boys, they have become the textbook definition of a rodeo family.
We always vowed that if we were going to do this and he was going to pursue his rodeo career, that we would do it as a family and travel as a family. And Cody is 2.5, Ryder just turned 1. And so they are starting to get more involved and starting to put makeup on and, following in their daddy's footsteps.
Wendy's childhood love of horses initially led her to the rodeo as a barrel racer. While she continues to perform on horseback today, being married to a rodeo clown has a way of expanding your skill set.
She carries American flag during the opening and she looks gorgeous, right? But then, when her husband needs her to be in the clown act, she is the greatest assistant, no matter what it is. She will ham it up with the best of them. Whether she's got to act like she's a ditzy blonde or she's mad at me, which I guess when she acts like she's mad at me, she's not really acting.
While the rodeo can be a full-time job, Trent and Wendy's days aren't all horseplay and clowning around. Trent's a surgical nurse, a RNFA at Baptist South here in Montgomery. And so he works Monday through Thursday in surgery, and then normally Thursday nights we hit the road where I'm actually in marketing and advertising. I have a home office I'm at 2 days a week, and then on Fridays I work out of our horse trailer.
Most patients would be understandably nervous being wheeled into surgery by a clown. But Trent says that for him, the 2 jobs actually go hand in hand.
As we're rolling into surgery with a patient, I'll be telling them jokes and they're laughing and it kind of helps relax them. And then when a cowboy gets injured, I'm the first one out there to him. So I can make a quick assessment of how serious this is, or if he's just trying to show off for his girlfriend up there in the stands, hey buddy, get up, you stumped your toe, quit whining.
Where once they were a last line of defense between a cowboy and an angry bull, today's rodeo clown is more about making people laugh. But this isn't exactly a circus ring. In an arena full of bucking broncs and charging livestock, Trent has occasionally found himself on the wrong side of the stethoscope. But every time the rodeo rolls into a new town, all the bumps, bruises, and long days on the road pay off.
You can't turn TV on without having bad news show up. So to be able to go out there and provide a family who may be struggling, going through hard times, 2.5 hours, to enjoy themselves and sit back, relax, have a good time with their family, that's the greatest job in the world to me. Whenever the crowd is right there in your hands and you're making them laugh and they're loving what you're doing, it's great. It's like a high I can never explain.
For Simply Southern, I'm Samantha Carpenter.
The McFarland family continues to travel to rodeos across the country, so if you're a rodeo fan, keep an eye out for Trent at an event near you. We'll just go ahead and hope you don't have to run into him at his other job. Our next segment is typically reserved for a story about agriculture, and Andrew Brock just so happens to be a farmer. He's also a full-time teacher, and on Sundays he's a preacher. Meet this man of many hats next on Simply Southern.
A farmer has to live on faith. We do all we can do, but we can only control so much.
Alabama is the 2nd largest poultry growing state in the nation, so we're trying our best to grow all the corn we can for that.
What we produce not only feeds and clothes all of the United States, but about half of what we make goes on to the world market.
We've been able to improve yields, have some things that can help us produce a better crop. I'm proud of the product we make and proud that I can say I'm an Alabama farmer.
Not littering is not hard. If you've accumulated trash in your vehicle, don't throw it out the window. Throw it in a can at the gas pump. Throw it in a can at a storefront. Throw it in a can at work. Or throw it in the can at home. Just don't drop it on Alabama. Not littering is not hard. Brought to you by People Against a Littered State, the Alabama Department of Transportation, the Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Farm Bureau Bank has built its entire existence around the lifestyle and needs of farmers and ranchers across America. We're here to help grow traditions, give back to agricultural communities, and offer financial convenience for your unique way of life. From sunup to sundown, we are committed to serving you.
I take pride in the product that we produce as a catfish farmer. Hi, I'm Willard Poe, and I'm the 2019 Alabama Catfish Farmer of the Year. When I go out to a restaurant and see people eating U.S. farm-raised catfish, that gives you a sense of pride and a sense of joy, knowing that you have produced a product that other people enjoy. Other people love to go out and eat.
Farmers, teachers, and church ministers are three professions with tremendous responsibility, whether it's tending a herd of cattle, a class of students, or parishioners in church. Each of these professions takes expert stewardship to reap a successful harvest. In Season 4, we met a man who does all three.
Andrew Brock never finds himself exactly hurting for something to do. Every morning he heads off to work to a full-time career as an educator. Sundays, you're likely to find him preaching at his church. But he's also a farmer, a passion that stretches back to his childhood.
I was probably 7 years old, and Dad got into cattle at that time. He told me that one of them was mine as long as I helped to take care of them. And so then the money from my calf every year went into my savings account, and I wasn't allowed to spend any of it. But when I turned 16, it helped to buy my first truck.
It stands to reason a career in farming would follow. But soon after enrolling at Auburn University, Andrew says God showed him a different path.
Out of high school, my direction was going to be to go to Auburn and Ag Econ. And I realized that the only reason why I was in Ag Econ was because I loved my high school ag class. And I began to pray about it, and I realized that God was leading me to teach.
As an agri-science teacher at Marshall Technical School, Andrew's able to share his love of farming with generations of students increasingly removed from the world of agriculture.
I'm the ag construction teacher at Marshall Technical School, and so my program focuses a lot on agricultural construction, and we talk about a lot of different fields of agriculture along with that. I've got about 36 students in my program.
Andrew began the school's first FFA program, emphasizing hands-on activities and material that not only increases his students' understanding of agriculture, but helps them get ready for life after school.
I'm teaching them about agriculture, but I'm also teaching them the trade of construction, and I teach them a little bit about manufacturing along with that. And hopefully, preparing them for their future careers.
And it's pretty obvious from talking to some of his students that he's making an impression.
Mr. Brock is a passionate instructor for ag education. As a mentor and a teacher, he truly knows what he's talking about and truly cares about each and every one of his students.
My stepdad, he works on a construction crew, and I've been helping him for the past 3 years. If I went with my stepdad to help build something or a side job or something, and I didn't understand something that he was doing, I'd ask Mr. Brock about it, and he'd show me. Everything he's teaching us is helping me for my future, pretty much.
As for his own future, Andrew says he'll continue to comfortably wear many hats. You'll still find him sharing the word at his local church, and he plans to continue teaching for many years to come. But whether it's helping his father with the cattle, watching his wife visit with the horses, or seeing his young son's joy at a ride on a tractor, farming undoubtedly will remain a part of his life.
I love the farm because there's just something about being out on a place that's your own. Even though it's something that me and my father do together, I feel like this is home, and this is our homeland, and I love that. And it's very rewarding in its own way. At some point I do know that God's going to lead me full-time into the ministry. And I feel like I'll always be involved in agriculture, no matter, if I'm teaching and preaching or just preaching. But I do know that one day that full-time call is coming. I'm always going to follow God's leadership. I know in my heart that I'm always going to be involved in agriculture because I feel like it's in my blood, and I feel like I just love farms too much to not have one of my own.
For Simply Southern, I'm Kevin Worthington.
Now, you may not find much to add to your Sunday school class, but teachers and farmers alike can find a wealth of agricultural information, including features on hardworking farmers like Andrew, on the Alabama Farmers Federation's website at alphafarmers.org. Plus, get the most up-to-date information by following the Alabama Farmers Federation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. After the break, we'll meet a rootin' tootin' cowboy whose traveling roadshow is bringing a touch of the Old West to the modern age.
There's nothing quite like sitting down to a home-cooked meal with fresh vegetables from the garden. With Bonnie plants from your local quality co-op store, you can enjoy the freshest vegetables right from your own backyard. And no matter if you're a raised bed gardener, a rose gardener, or if you farm hundreds of acres, your quality co-op store has exactly what you need to get the most out of your plants. You'll always find what you need, plus friendly, knowledgeable advice at your local quality co-op store. There's one near you.
FFA makes a positive difference in the lives of students by developing their potential for premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through agricultural education.
We're strengthening American agriculture and providing our members with the skills needed to build healthy local communities, a strong nation, and a sustainable world.
We are the next generation of agriculture.
It's our turn now.
Let's show the world what we can achieve together.
We are FFA.
The versatile peanut, meat of the earth, friend of the soil, tasty, nutritious, packed with protein. And Alabama peanut farmers nourish some very special things: families, communities, and Alabama's economy. Peanuts. Good for you, good for Alabama.
Support healthy food from local farmers by purchasing a Farming Feeds Alabama license plate. The tag funds education and promotion efforts, including Ag in the Classroom, agricultural scholarships, and youth programs. Get your Ag tag today.
For more Simply Southern, be sure to follow us on social media. And while you're online, visit our website, simplysouthern.tv.net. Simply Southern will continue in a moment.
We believe a plant should be more than a plant. This one is. It's all you need for your garden to succeed because it's a Bonnie plant. It represents hundreds of varieties of Bonnie's quality veggies and herbs. But more, it's from generations of Bonnie people who are passionate about sharing their love of gardening with you. Look for this little Bonnie plant and a whole family of plants like it in your garden center. Bonnie plants, so you'll know how to grow.
Back in our first season of Simply Southern, we met Bruce Brannon, a guy you'd swear just hopped off a time machine straight out of Dodge City. While this new age cowboy can trick shoot like Wild Bill and dance a lasso like Will Rogers, he has bigger goals than just putting on a show.
You really have to like a guy to let him crack a bullwhip inches from your face. And Bruce Brannon is an easy guy to like. This retired school teacher is a bit of a Renaissance man, a talented illustrator, painter, and poet. But true to his big white hat, Bruce is a cowboy at heart.
I saw my first rodeo. It was the first rodeo they had at the Coliseum. And I was 10 years old. But I was bit by the bug a long time before then. You know, I'd been watching Gene Autry and Roy Rogers and stuff before then. But that was the first time that I ever saw anybody rope something for real in real life, you know. And I saw somebody rope a calf, and I was ruined forever.
Bruce and his wife Vernell performed their Wild West show throughout the Southeast. Popularized by Western legend Buffalo Bill Cody in the late 19th century, these traveling shows were popular with children growing up in the heyday of TV westerns. But for modern audiences, Bruce is something of a novelty.
I find myself now in a role as an ambassador for Cowboys to people that would probably never see a cowboy otherwise.
Recently, this cowboy and his lovely assistant have set aside their spurs for books, hoping their images of the Old West will encourage young minds to read.
We got into doing summer reading programs at libraries, and it has just grown into just this wonderful experience for us. And we go all over the Southeast, and we do the themes. Every year they have a theme. They have a different theme for the library, and so we kind of come up with a program that has goes along with the theme that year for the library summer reading programs. And we have a kid come up and they'll pick one of these heroes they want to hear a story about, and I'll tell them the story of this particular guy because they've never heard of any of these people. You know, they know zombies and aliens, you know, but they don't know anything about cowboys. I'm always amazed by the response that I get from kids, and I think, gosh, why haven't these kids been exposed to something like this before? And so I guess it's up to me to do it.
The Brannon Show is a dazzling display of everything from fancy roping to trick shooting. And this week, for the sake of our delightful Simply Southern audience, the role of the lovely assistant will be temporarily occupied by yours truly.
Be brave. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Bruce, better stop there, Bruce.
We have some pretty talented folks out there, don't we? Personally, I think I have a pretty incredible job getting to share their stories, and you can too. Help us bring these stories and more to your friends and family by subscribing to the Simply Southern TV YouTube channel, following Simply Southern TV on Facebook, and checking out our blog, which is updated every Sunday morning at 6 o'clock. Just visit simplysouthern.tv.net. Thanks for joining us for this journey through the Simply Southern archives. Next week, we'll continue our look back by remembering some of the more interesting festivals we've attended through the years. I'm Mary Wilson, and I'll see you next week.
Simply Southern is a production of the Alabama Farmers Cooperative and the Alabama Farmers Federation.